did you first think that you had tremor?
15 or 16 was
Yeah.
the first time. I was diagnosed with it when I was 17, so there must have been a year's worth of trying to figure out what it was.
Yes.
I was just speaking to the other guys in there, sort of younger generation. You think it's anxiety, I think, at first, and
Yeah.
you're just nervous.
Uh-huh.
I'm an actor, so I was at auditions or singing lessons and classes and things like that, and it was noticeable that I was nervous, and that was just all I heard for a year was you're just a nervous. I was always shy anyway, but you must just be nervous because you're always on stage or performing, so you're naturally just shaky.
Sure.
But when I remember quite distinctly being in a store, and you're 16, 17, you're paying for things yourself, there's no parental guidance anymore, and I was trying to give someone change, and just they asked me why I was shaking so much, because counting change is always a nightmare for people with ET, and that was when I decided to go and tell my parents and see a doctor, and they diagnosed me.
How did they diagnose you with tremor?
They do the usual sort of tests, so they get you to hold paper and hold your hands out. They noticed mine's is a lot worse in my left hand than it is in my right. They didn't do any sort of MRI scans. You hear a lot of that now because it's just more prevalent than it was in 2007 or whenever it was. And fairly small town in Scotland. I didn't grow up with anyone else who was talking about an essential tremor. My father has it, but I don't think he ever got diagnosed with it. He's just always assumed I just have shaky hands and lived with it, So he's started to pay more attention to it because I'm now involved with it and have sort of always been trying to work around it. And the doctor at the time offered me propranolol, beta blocker, and said only maybe 20 or 30% of the cases that try this see some significant improvement. So I was on it for maybe a year, and it helped a little, but it alters you in different ways. I felt a little ill from taking them, and just it spiraled me into depression and things like that, because you start to question if you can continue doing the thing that you love doing, which for me was being on stage and learning scripts, and daily tasks just started to become difficult. So I never felt like anyone supported it. I just assumed that I had to learn how to deal with it myself. So even painting, which I used to do, you would prop your hand up on a table. I know we talked about this last time we were meeting up. It's amazing when you see how kids deal with it, because they don't really understand what's going on, but they somehow manage to find ways to make it work for themselves. And that's what it became for me for the last 10 years was, okay, well, if people are telling me there's no cure, what things can I do to make it easier? So relaxation, as Jackie will probably talk about today, mindfulness, constantly being aware of it, lay off things like coffee and alcohol and anything else, you need to understand that things that you put in your body are going to alter your chemistry, and there's already a neurological thing going on with you, so you sort of have to pay slightly more attention to it than maybe the average Joe walking around. And once you do it for long enough, it becomes natural, If people offer me a coffee now, I think, well, where do I have to be in half an hour? If I have to be on stage or shaking hands with people, I don't want to be on edge. But once I'm done with everything, I'll allow myself to have that cup of coffee or glass of wine that just relaxes you for a bit. So that was me. I was 17 when I was diagnosed.
And how has it affected? How does it affect college and stuff, or your work?
I remember being 17 and I left home and I started working around about that time. I didn't go immediately into university or drama school, which was going to be the obvious route for me at the time. And there was a real element of fear. And that's what I always try and tell younger generations or people who are the same age as me. Just if you're starting up a life or a career, or you're about to leave home, it's already a very isolated condition, I think, for a lot of people. You ask any of the younger generations in there, they'll tell you it feels like you're on your own, which is why I'm glad everyone's here today to talk about it. But with jobs as well, like now I'm a bartender, which I would never have done when I was 17 or 18, because of the fear of having to hand someone a drink and be like this, putting it on the table, or delivering plates. I just thought, you know what, that's a minefield that I don't want to enter into. So actively avoided it, ended up doing more office jobs, things where I could type, administration or IT, and it was fine, but it was masking the problem. You're not accepting it if you're doing that. You're trying to stay away from it. And then the other side of the career is acting. So you go into an audition, it's 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning, and you hold a sheet of paper and you shake. And people ask you if you had a heavy night the night before. You know, they think maybe you've been out drinking. Scottish accent doesn't help that very much. But again, you get used to it, you know, telling people I've got a tremor. But because it's not spoken about enough, not everyone's comfortable doing that. It took me a long time to be comfortable doing that. And I know it's hard because you think people will treat you differently, but they won't. You know, I think if you're honest about what's going on, it's better off than them making some sort of assumption that you're nervous or you're tired or you're hungover or on drugs, which I've heard before for people who have ET. If you're honest with folk, I know we've given out cards today that sort of tell you what the tremor is and that you have one. Making people aware of it is the key. So I'd rather people did that. I don't think it's taking away opportunities for me, you know, and I don't want kids especially to feel like they can't be a doctor or a pilot because they have shaky hands. There are ways around it. There are people who will help you with it. There's technologies every day now that are coming into play that will help you with it. So for me, the mission statement now is trying to let those younger generations know that it's not the end of the world. You know, even if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. I think you should, but get help. I definitely spent a long time trying to help myself, and I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I think it's better to go and speak, or even just go and listen. There's kids here today who they're new to it. There's a sort of deer in the headlights feeling about the whole thing, but at least they're here and they might hear something that strikes them. If it's about gyro gear or the brain stimulation procedures, something might just trigger them and they want to research it more or talk about it more. I keep saying talk about it more, but that's all it is for me now. You know, I've came to accept it, so I just want to share the story with people.
Excellent. Cool. You got any advice for anyone who suffers tremor, a young person who suffers from tremor?
Look it up. You know, I'm not great with social media, but I know other people are, and we've got Chloe here who's done the blog, and Jackie was letting me know about someone who I think wrote an article about it when they were 17 and then went back and visited it when they were 27, so sort of 10 years later, and how have they changed and affected it. And I wish I'd done stuff like that. So touch typing seems to help a lot of people with essential tremor. You know, if you're in school and you're having trouble writing, tell your guidance counsellor, tell your principal, tell someone that you're having trouble with this and that you have a tremor. I wish I had done it in school. I wish I had said, I'm struggling to write here. My handwriting was always kind of crazy. Again, people just don't know about it. Your teacher might have never heard of Tremor. Your school might not have any awareness of it. But if you say something, not only will it help you, but it will help everyone else who follows in your footsteps. So that's the advice. Say something to someone.